This is an overview of Shure's Designer system configuration software. Designer can be used for setting up Shure audio systems end-to-end, consisting of microphones, processors and interfaces, and loudspeakers. We'll start with a basic tour of the software and then get into specific features such as setting up audio coverage or optimizing the entire audio system in the click of a button. Starting from the home page, My Projects is where you start when you open Designer. Projects can be used for organizing different companies you're working with, or different buildings across the campus, for example. Double-click into a project to create different locations within that project. These are most often used as rooms. So a project and locations within it are the way to organize your audio systems in Designer. Next is My Templates. Templates can be used for setting up cookie-cutter room types that you want to reuse over and over. So if you have rooms that are very similar or have the same setup, you can start off a template instead of needing to individually configure one room at a time. Next is Online Devices. The Online Devices list will automatically discover Shure devices that are on the same subnet, and you can also add cross-subnet devices here as well by adding by their IP address. Double-click into any device from this list to get to that specific device's settings. This is very similar to the workflow of the Shure Web Device Discovery application and our browser interfaces for our devices. So if you want to set up and troubleshoot a specific device, going to the Online Devices list and double-clicking one is the fastest way to do that. As of Designer 4.2 and forward, we also have firmware updating from Designer as well. So you can update firmware for devices on the same subnet and cross-subnet from this Online Devices list. If you have internet access when you open Designer, you'll see any new available firmware files in this dropdown. And then you can check off devices and update firmware from this list. In this case, I'm already on the latest firmware. Again, you can also update cross-subnet devices as well, assuming you first added cross-subnet devices by their IP address, and they're now discovering in this list. Next is Event Log. The event log in Designer is tracking system events for different actions that you've taken in Designer. It also tracks basic device information like device online and offline. This log can be exported to a CSV file to send to support if needed. We also have device-level event logs. If you double-click a device, you can export that individual device's logs as well that are always on and running as long as the device is online. Last is Settings. Most notably, you can select your network interface for discovering Shure devices here. If you're not discovering devices on the Online Devices list, it points you to the NIC settings here, so make sure that you have the right NIC selected. There's also other information on this page, such as event log history, helping Shure improve with analytics, and the version of your Designer software.